Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a beautiful day here in Illinois. Well, for me, Tyler,
It's
you're not
still
here
beautiful.
yet.
It was a beautiful day here too, though. So
It actually felt like baseball weather for the first time. I'm a little rusty. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been on a mic since I don't think since last year. It seems like.
maybe.
Yeah, I know. Like I don't think I did January or February.
But hey, it is great to be on here with you, Juice. It's great to be on here with the I'll say it, the greatest glass of juice there is, man. Um, it's good to see you. It's good to finally get to talk to you again. I'll be honest, you really haven't missed much because
No,
spring training, you get those first couple of weeks, you get the cool little video packages of the guys playing catch, pitchers and catchers throwing bullpens, hitters hitting in the cage, all that kind of cool stuff. You see one game and you're like, okay, I'm ready for all this to be over with. Let's get to the real thing, right? And we're close to it. So that's good, I guess.
I did miss. What do you call it? Cubs Con with you boys, and
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that was monumental losses, or I'm just trying to break even. However, you would rather,
oh yeah.
you
God.
would
It
rather,
brings back bad memories, Juice. Come
yeah,
on.
like, and that's the problem with. I was talking, and I think this is a perfect way to start. We're going to dive into some topics throughout the day, talking about what's going on with the team and how they're over in Tokyo. But I want to ask you, how
Yeah.
excited for this baseball season, the 2025 baseball season, are you? Because I may have a different answer than you do.
I'm excited. I get excited every year, even back in I'll be honest, even back in the days of like 2013, 2012, even all those. It's almost the cliche, it's a plain slate, everybody's even, blah blah blah. I still get excited because it's one, it's baseball, man. But when it comes to this team, yes, I'm excited about this Cubs team, the potential that is. With that being said, there is, and we're going to talk about them, there is a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs with this team. And if things, if certain things happen, if things go the way they go or don't go, it's definitely going to affect my mood for the whole summer. But right now, I'm excited just because we're so close to getting started. But yes, there's a lot of ifs that come with that could greatly affect that, Juice.
Yeah, and I don't know if my just to dive into it real quick, I've had some weird I'm not too excited about
Hmm.
this season for some reason. I don't know if that has something to do with the odd start in Tokyo, if it has anything to do with I'm just trying to break even and the Cubs having, at least a little bit more money to spend that they could have, went to that first part of the luxury. But
Hmm.
I just don't have, or to add on to it, if the Dodgers have just taken my excitement out of it because they're like the Avengers and they have all the Infinity Stones. And like, there's part of me that's just sitting here. What does this matter? Are we all just playing for second in the NL? I don't know if that's the case, if that's why I'm not so excited. But I'll be honest with you, Tyler. I haven't watched a lot of spring training. When I have, it's been, it's on in the background. I'm doing something else.
Hmm.
I know who's on the team and I'm following close to that way when I get on a mic like this. I don't sound like I haven't kept up with it, but I'm not watching with that spring excitement that I usually do to start the year. And I don't know why that's the case. I'm comment underneath, into our comments here and say if you're excited. I'm sure you all are, but try to help me reason with my reasoning here because
Are you
I don't know.
are you not as excited because of maybe some comments that were made this offseason by the front office, aka Tom Ricketts? Is it one of those things where you can see the writing on the wall? Because I think the last episode we read a letter from you
Yeah.
about the potential of a lockout at the end of 2026. Is it one of those things you're not excited because you can see what's possibly coming ahead? Is it one of those things that maybe odds are Kyle Tucker's going to have just a hell of a season, or maybe even the best season of his career so far, break records, break Cubs records, whatever you want to say. And there's a good chance that this will be the only season he's in a Cubs uniform. Is it one of those type of things where that's why maybe you're not as excited because you can see what's coming ahead?
I think it's twofold. I think it's that, but I also think it's Tucker was the base of this offseason, correct? And
Yep.
the goal was to add more behind him. Did they really add much behind him? Or are we just sitting here hoping that guys meet their baseball cards, which is something that I feel like we've been doing every single year, overperforming their baseball cards? Because I sit here today and I'm like, did we really add to the Tucker trade like we needed to supplement that team to bring us over? Because I still feel like we are in a dogfight in the Central, regardless of what the betting odds say.
Oh, I
And
agree.
what people say. I don't think this is an easy division to win. I just
totally
don't.
agree. And not to cut you off, but I'm good friends with a guy. There's a guy at one of the gyms here that I see every morning. He's a big time Reds fan. I know, right? Great guy. But him and another guy, they split season tickets. They go all the time, and that's literally what we just talked about 2 days ago. And I said, I don't care what the betting odds are. I don't believe that the Brewers are not. The Brewers are the number one team in this division until they prove to me that they're not. Because I don't care that they lose. You lose Devin Williams. You lose Corbin Burns the previous season. You lose Willie Adonis and somehow still figure out a way to win that division easy. And people forget they had one of the best bullpens in baseball last year. And I get it. Bullpens every year are just different. Bullpens are who's hot, who's not, who had the good couple first outings, who had the bad couple. You know what I'm saying? So I'm convinced that the Brewers are the best team in this division until they prove that they're not. And I agree with you. This is going to be arguably one of the. You could argue this could be the tightest race as far as division race in baseball, because you look at the AL East. They just lost they lost Garrett Cole. The Yankees did, which that division still could be close. But then you said it, the big bad Dodgers. They're going to blow past everybody. Maybe the NL East is going to be close, but I think the Central, in its own way, is going to be its own. Even if it's a battle between a lot of 500 teams, it's still going to be close. I mean, look at the AL Central last year. So. And again, back to the Reds just for a second. The Reds aren't people aren't talking enough about Terry Francona. That guy, he is a player's manager. That guy is going to get that team on the right track. That guy, the chemistry, all that stuff. They're going to be a tough. And as we've seen for the what juice the past 5 years, we can't beat the Reds. The Reds are like. They're our Achilles heel. There's something about the Reds. I don't know what it is, other than Ian Happ dominating them every time he goes to Cincinnati. But so yeah, I agree. It's not. I think it's going to be a closer division than what a lot of people expect. Can the Cubs win 90 wins? Can the Cubs have 90 wins this year? Yeah, of course they can. But like we'll talk about throughout this episode, there's a lot of ifs that come with that.
There is. And I think I'm just tired of not having World Series expectations every year.
I agree.
Because the problem with this is you're the mighty, mighty Cubs, and we sit here and we're talking about winning the division. And then what? Like, are you a World Series favorite? Does anybody look at this roster and say, this team could win a World Series? I haven't heard that once. And I listen to a lot of Cubs shows. I listen to a lot of radio. I haven't heard one Cubs podcaster come out and say, yeah, this team could win the World Series. I mean, they could, but would you be confident to bet on it? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree.
I look at this team as maybe that first wild card, maybe you win the division and you give that first series a run for its money and maybe you exit in 5. You know, I think that's the kind of roster we're looking at. And I think that's a great segue.
Would you
into
compare
kind of
it?
what we're looking into?
Would you compare it similar? Maybe not as good as the 2015 team, but maybe, I don't know, a frontline starter away from something like that?
See, we were talking about this off air. I still think they're a bat away too. I think we're a frontline starter and a bat away because baseball's a pretty simple game to project. Look at wins above replacement, and you can almost pretty much say this is how they're going to perform regardless of injuries. That's what makes it difficult, right? Down years and injuries. But the Cubs just don't have enough guys where you look and you go, that's a 5-win player.
Yeah.
Really, they got one that you feel confident in. After that, who's a 5-win player after that?
It's a good question.
And you need like 3 of them.
But as we're about to get into, there are a couple players, one in particular, that could be close to that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there here in a minute.
And we will. But I look at this and I'm like, you need more. You need like 3 5-win players on this roster next year. And if you get that, I love where they're at. But in the meantime, I just don't see it. So we're going to do some housekeeping right before. Just a few things I made notes on.
Yeah.
Newest news out there. Shaw's making the trip to Tokyo.
Yep.
I think that's great news.
Yeah. Good to see.
Yeah.
It's assumed that. Yeah. I mean, it's assumed that is he going to be the starting third baseman? I don't even know if he's played that much second base at all, and so I'm assuming he's going to be the starting third baseman on opening, unless you make a case for Gage Workman, who's also making the trip. But he's got to be the bench guy, right?
Unless they like that matchup against Yamamoto. I mean, then maybe you do, find.
Or maybe you do a Workman at third and a Shaw at second.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think may be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just happy to see him making the trip.
Yeah, me too.
Had a nice kind of start to his spring training, I thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A couple hits, kind of showed that he could, pick it over at third a little bit.
Sure.
It's still something I'm concerned about. We've kind of talked about this over the course of his Cub career about him playing third. It's still something that I semi feel concerned about. I don't know about you, but I do.
I'm more confident in him playing third base than I was last year with Christopher Morel. And
that's
before everybody said, "Oh, well, he's so." I know, but I also don't want this year, just like we talked about last year with Morel, when things start rolling, when the ball gets rolling, we see who's who in the division and everything like that. I don't want that. Can't turn third base every year. Can't turn into a project piece. It can't. So they hopefully they find an answer to that early, whether it's Matt Shaw or someone. I know they said, "Oh yeah, Justin Turner may make some starts at third base." No, I don't see him making. If he does, I don't see him making more than 5, if that. And that he hasn't played in at least 7 games at third base, I think since 2020. So yeah, they can say that all they want. It's spring training. I get it. Everybody feels good at the beginning of spring training, but I don't see that happening. But I hope that's something with Shaw again. Glad to see him make the trip. Hope he starts off hot and just continues it throughout the season. But with that being said, I hope that, like I said, it does not need to turn into a project piece throughout the season as far as trying to figure out, especially if we expect this team to win this division, and hopefully they do as well. And I think they do.
Yeah, I want to touch on a couple comments we've kind of went through here. We're talking about the Cubs still need to add a front of rotation guy. I 100% agree, Brandon.
So funny you say that, Brandon, because in our offline group that all of us with the show talk, we talk and everything like that. So there was rumor, and again, we'll address the starting rotation when we get there as far as going around the diamond. I am in the process of, I've got a piece I'm working up on, cheap plug. There are some starting pitchers out there on teams that there's a really good chance are going to be sellers by the deadline. Some of them you've probably heard of. Some of them may not have thought of, but working on that. And yeah, I agree. I do think they're one rotation, one frontline starter short.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it's something that over the course of this year is addressed. What up, mofos from Mesa, Arizona, soon to be Tokyo, Japan. Enjoy break even, Tom. Hopefully you break even on your trip.
That dude's going, by the way, I'm pretty sure he's going to like the first 45 games of the season. No joke.
That's impressive.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Very impressive. Brandon B here again. I think the Cubs were foolish to count on Steele and Imanaga to perform the way they have in the past couple. Yeah, I mean, we're going to go around the diamond here and talk about each and every position and what concerns us, what doesn't concern us. I think it's a fun episode, and I hope people find a way to participate within the chat. Yeah, and I think this is regarding the Shaw. Yeah, he's not on the 40-man roster, but they did find – I saw a report that they're looking to DFA Keegan Thompson.
Yeah.
So I would be curious if that move was to open up a spot for Shaw.
Yeah, for sure.
On the 40-man. He will be on the 40-man to start.
Oh, yeah, he will.
He'll have to be.
I mean, you don't.
And some. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say, you don't send him to Tokyo just to, hey, watch. You know, they're gonna put. I feel like they're gonna put him on the 40-man for sure.
A lot of talk about Guerrero here. I'd love it.
That'd be nice, but I don't.
Gonna happen yet.
I agree, and I don't even think he gets traded this season. I think they ride it out. It'd be a total Blue Jays thing, and you can't blame the Blue Jays because they've tried on Ohtani, they tried on Soto, they've tried on Guerrero already, and I think they're going to ride that out all the way to the end of the season. So yeah, Guerrero would be nice, but just I would give it less than a 10% chance that he gets traded this season because I feel like Toronto is going to do whatever they can to get him to stay in Toronto.
And Brandon, with today's political climate with the tariffs, I don't know if break even Tom could.
That's true. That is true. So that's
a huge problem. Mm-hmm. Huge problem. We have to factor these things in. So, Sandy Alcantara, wouldn't hate it either.
He's one of the guys. There's a couple more. I could say there's probably about 6 on teams which by the way, Sandy Alcantara has actually, he's looked pretty good so far this spring. I think he's hovering around like 97 to 99, which pretty nice. But yeah, he's one of them.
And we don't have that. That's the other thing. If you want to talk about a rotation, we just don't have a guy who does that. From Sandy Alcantara to Kevin Alcantara. Kevin Alcantara is having one hell of a spring training, in my opinion. Batting 280, 333, and 400. That's his slash line with 3 doubles. As the president of the Kevin Alcantara fan club, at 22 years old, pretty confident.
Yeah, you're the first one that sold me on Alcantara. Like you're the one that I want to say it was at least 2 years ago, and yeah, I love to see it. He's a guy though that I would still rather him see. I'd rather see him start the season in the minors, getting at bats there, than being that bench player that is going to get a spot here or there. Yeah, here's the thing: if he's playing in the outfield for the Cubs before the All-Star break, that means somebody's hurt, which is not good. And I would rather see him getting quality, productive at bats in the minors than sitting him on the bench and giving him a spot here and there. And maybe he hovers around a 220 batting average, and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's washed. He sucks," and blah 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 and everything like that. Because you know how some fans can be. So I would rather see him do that. And maybe he's a guy, if you have to, maybe he's a guy that come the deadline, he's a guy that gets you that arm, that gets you that piece that this team needs by the deadline. So either way, I think it would be a lot more beneficial for him to start the season in the minors.
Yeah, and he's got to play every day. That's
has to.
Long and short of it. He just has to play every day. One last before we start to go around the diamond, talking about top of the line rotation pieces. There's a lot of smoke about Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson.
Oh God, yeah. Actually, yeah.
I want to put that to death. Can we put that to death?
I don't think it's happening. I will say I just currently listened to a podcast with Kyle on, and he's a very knowledgeable guy. He's a good veteran guy. He is. I'm sure he'll get a job before the season. I mean, he made 30 starts per season, minus last season. But that's not what this rotation needs. This rotation doesn't need just that guy that, oh, he's a veteran. I know he's not what he used to be, but they need a guy. They need another guy, if that makes sense. But yeah, I just don't. I'm hoping it's all smoke and mirrors. But again, going back to break even Tom, you never know.
You really do. You never know. But I think this is a fun little exercise we have for today's show. We're going to go around and talk about each position and how confident we are that the Cubs did enough. I think one of the questions will be, did the Cubs do enough at this position in the offseason to address it? And how confident you are with the players that are at that specific position going into this year, and what your expectations kind of are for each player within that position. So, Tyler, we're going to start at catcher because that's the manager on the field, as some people would say.
For sure.
We're going to start with. Oops, there we go. Catcher. We have Amaya and Kelly here, which I assume will be the opening day battering ram for those two positions. Do you feel confident about this position, Tyler? Is it something that you wanted more of?
Carson Kelly's a nice piece. Is he a guy that is he your everyday starting catcher type guy? I don't know about that. Amaya, he's got to continue to show improvement like he did in the second half of last year. If we see the first half Miguel Amaya that actually that cost this team games. And a lot of it looked, again, just in case anybody here listening doesn't, I'm not a professional player. I just watch, but it looked like there was a few games last year. One in particular was the live stream we did, I believe, against Arizona. It was the historic Ron Luce 999 game. He lost that game. It looked like on just lackadaisical errors that could have been avoided. I want to say there was another game, I believe, against Milwaukee. Same thing. He's got to show that Miguel Amaya is not here anymore. If he can continue to do that and maybe figure it out a little bit more at the plate, it's not like, oh my God, because they're really realistically, was there really many options this offseason? I don't think so. I really don't think. I want to say the guy from Toronto, one of the backup guys for Toronto, or used to be at Toronto, he was talked about.
Jensen.
Yeah, Danny Jansen. It's one of those positions. As long as I don't look at those two guys and say, yeah, they're going to be pieces in the lineup offensively that's going to really make a difference. I don't look at it like that. If they can just, as far as defensively, if they can show up defensively, I feel like that would be a win with the two guys they've got.
Yeah, I think this is the Cubs' weakest position on the ball field. I really do. You're looking at Miguel Amaya, who was highly touted when they didn't have an actual farm system. I think that's the only time he was within the top 10 was when back when the Cubs, before they had traded away, that 2016 core.
Yeah.
I think he showed some steps in that last, kind of 25 to 30 games where I started to feel a little comfortable, but there's just a lot of ifs at this position. And you're asking Kelly to overproduce in a lot of ways too. Because
they need him to overproduce.
Because he's probably going to play at least 40 games, in my opinion, or 40% of the 40% of the starts. So I expect like a 60-40 kind of split between Amaya and Kelly. That's just my opinion. But
I think he may even play because people think he's only 30 years old. He'll be 31 and he'll be 31 in the middle of the season. He may even play more than that, maybe, for all we know. I think that depends on Amaya.
Yeah, and I liked Amaya's approach. I know he changed some things with his swing.
Yeah.
After the struggle, because he was awful for a long period of times. But you brought up the defense, Teddy, and that's what you need. You need defense from this position, and especially in today's baseball where the bases are bigger and it's a more athletic game. I don't want the Cubs to turn into a turnstile on the base pass. I don't. Oh, sure. And Amaya didn't throw out as many runners as I wanted him to last year. And I'm not as familiar with Kelly's game in terms of cutting down the run game, but I mean, there's a reason he was a free agent. That's as baseball turns away from this, he's not going to be playing all the games anyway. So who's to say that, they're not running like crazy on Amaya because the Cubs need that bat? It's a real problem. So I look at this position and I say, I don't feel confident with how they addressed it over the course of the year. I just don't.
I mean, I can't disagree. At the same time, there really wasn't that many options out there. And hopefully we just see a lot of progress, at least from it. Hopefully we see a lot of progress from Amaya than we did, maybe sooner than we did last year.
Okay, good to know. Thanks, Break Even Tom. I'm not, like I said, I'm not the most familiar with his defensive game. I'll take your word for it. 100% I will. But show me. Break Even Tom dropping in here too. First half we see Miggy, Mo Baller be up sooner or later, or Pablo Aliendo. I know there's been a lot of talk lately about, Moises Ballesteros and him dropping a little bit of weight so he could play the position, and he's definitely, kind of started to close a little bit of the gap defensively. We know that bat is going to play, but you got to field your position. And in today's MLB, that's 100% something that we need to make sure we shore up before we're putting him out there. And what his game calling looks like. I think that's a very, understated thing as well, going into this year. But yeah, I don't think we need to, spend extremely long periods of time on these positions.
For sure.
But I think we could both agree that catcher, it seems a little thin.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. I'm just going to type it like this because we all know first base. First base is Michael Busch for most of this year. That's what it's going to be. Some guys are going to spell in there to give him a little bit of a blow. But what's your expectations for Michael Busch this year? What are you thinking his
He-
stat line
he's
needs to look at the end of the year?
he's one of the guys on this team that has to avoid the sophomore slump. Has to. I know last year he had 20 plus home runs. Great to see. He's got to continue. He's got to maybe do a little bit better against lefties. Again, that's also where we may see more Justin Turner this year, and who's a guy they added this offseason. With him, yeah, he'll put up he'll give you a professional at bat. I know a lot of the guys were really high on him when they added him. Did I go crazy when Justin Turner? No, but I will say I guess it's good to see the players' reactions as far as like you can tell that yeah, he may make a difference in that clubhouse with other hitters and hopefully so, as far as just throw out his knowledge to some of these younger guys like a Michael Busch. But like you said, I feel like Michael Busch, yeah, he'll probably make the majority of the starts, should make the majority of the starts, but he has to avoid that sophomore slump. I want to say Fangraphs had him projected at roughly 20-ish home runs again, which isn't bad. If he can just, and even if he repeats what he did last year, that's not bad either. At one point, he was their best hitter in the lineup to start the first few months of the season. And it was one of those things we were saying, if Michael Busch, no offense to Michael Busch, but the question or the comment made last year was, if Michael Busch is the best hitter on this team, that's not good. And again, that's no disrespect to Michael Busch, but then that also means that a lot of the guys on this team that you have higher expectations for aren't living up to that, aren't playing up to that. But with that being said, if Michael Busch, he's got to avoid that sophomore slump. If he can do that, then I'm not mad if he's penciled in for most of the starts at first base this year.
Yeah, I think he's the second most important Cub in this lineup that you're in terms of like expectance.
I agree. I know what you're saying. Yeah. As far as who you've got certain guys, sorry to interrupt you. You've got certain guys and everybody I
know something happened with his mic over here.
You got me
back? No, I got you.
You've got certain guys that you know what you've got out of them. They've been in long enough. You know what they're going to produce. But with a guy like Michael Busch and another guy that we'll talk about later, like those guys have got to they've got to meet that for the rest of this this equation to work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's got to overproduce. He's got to be a big bat in that lineup, and I know that they have the lefty stud with Tucker. We're going to talk about him later and what we expect from him, but realistically, a lot of the lefty power needs to come from Michael Busch. If you look around the diamond, it has to, because you're not going to really you're going to get some from Ian Happ, but you're going to get a majority of your left-handed power from two spots, first base and right field this year. And left-handed pop is, if you look around the league, it's extremely sought after. Left-handed pop it's tough to find, extremely tough to find. And the Cubs actually let one guy go who was a left-handed pop hitter this year too, but brought in another. Then that's in Mr. Bellinger. But yeah, no, I think he has to overproduce, and I think that from break-even time here, this would be nice if he won the Gold Glove at first.
People are talking. People are saying, I'll tell you this. If we sell a lot of Busch Bomb shirts this year, I'm pretty sure that means he's playing good. So that's the goal. Got to sell a lot of Busch Bomb shirts this year.
Maybe if he wins the Gold Glove, we can do some type of like
Golden Busch?
Gold Busch t-shirt.
Hell yeah.
The Golden Busch.
The Golden Busch.
that sounds
awesome.
like something in the 80s. But moving on, we're going to move on to a different position here because I think we both hit the nail on the head there. Michael Busch is extremely important, left-handed, power in this lineup, and just a mainstay at first base, because also there's not much depth at that position after that. Even in the minors, look at it. You're going to have to piece things together to make it to the end if he's a problem.
Maybe Workman. I know Tom here.
Yeah,
he may give you maybe.
But I mean, still Workman, a guy who's still trying to make the roster. I think
exactly. He's a guy that's still trying to figure out. I think maybe he's trying. Maybe everybody's trying to figure out who he is really.
Sure. Yeah, that's. But it'd be nice. And then Break Even Tom also chimed in 260, 25 plus homers, 80 RBIs, and an 800 OPS.
Would love it. That would be awesome.
Sign me up for that today.
Yep.
I'd take that right now. Back to the banners. So first base is done. Second base, I put TBD Nico Hoerner because eventually he will be back and manning this position. In the meantime, you're going to see, some guys fill in there to get them through. I don't know if Nico will be ready for opening day or not, but
I don't think he will be. I know he's not making the trip to Tokyo.
No. So they're going to have to figure out a way to piece this together until he's back. But Nico Hoerner, the same guy that I said would maybe be traded this offseason, and I think the last show I was on was not traded, still here. I think there were some rumblings
broke
with
my
that,
heart 2 years ago. You broke it.
You're still mad at me for that. But I was right.
No. I'm not mad at you. No. I'm over it now. Like I'm not like the idea of trading Nico makes sense now. It does. And looking back on it, Kyle, I'm almost 35. So I'll say 35-year-old me would have told 33-year-old me, Tyler, it's okay. You should probably push for it too, because that 2023 version of Nico Hoerner might be the best version of Nico Hoerner we ever see. Even though last year people, he had a down season last year. It wasn't maybe not as good as the 23 year, but it still wasn't bad. It really wasn't. He's a guy that whenever he comes back, he's got to find, for two reasons. He has to find that 2023 form. One, for just for this lineup in general, but two, either way, on this team or not, playing at that 2023 level is going to help this team in a trade. Looking at it from a trade perspective, because you have that 2023 version of Nico Hoerner playing like he did, and they've got room to move him by the deadline. Then I think that's something you do, especially with the money that he's making right now, or the little money that he's making right now. But that's, like you wrote down here, that's to be determined. It's just, I think he's a guy. If he's anywhere close to 23, he's the guy that could be the first Cubs 40-40 player. I know, not 40 home runs, but 40 doubles, 40 stolen bases since why is my mind gone blank? He played in 2001. Maybe Eric Matthews. Is that right?
01?
Was it 01? No, sorry, Eric Young. Eric Matthews is Boy Meets World.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like
Eric Young. I'm pretty sure Eric Young was the last 40 double, 40 stolen base player on the Cubs. Maybe in 01.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why they gave Soriano that huge contract, thinking he could be that 40-40-40.
Yeah.
But that was never going to be.
Yeah, he's a guy that, he's got to find that 23 form for a lot of reasons. And so far, kind of just, it's a big question mark still.
It is. I mean, I have a question for you, and it's something that I was talking about with our friend of the program, Mr. John Brooks. I was curious, does Nico Hoerner look bad at second because Ian Happ isn't your prototypical 40 home run guy in left field? Because sometimes I look at this lineup and I'm like, I feel like they're so oddly different but similar in terms of the lack of power. Like you need one of those spots to hit for power, and usually it's left field. So like you get where my head's going there. it's that looking at Nico next to Ian Happ kind of makes you feel like, well, I wish we had a guy like Schwarber who was just in left field, who
I
just
see what
mashed
like
for 50 home runs.
you saying you wish one or the other between them two
No,
had more power
I'm
than
saying like the identity of the team is too similar to where you're not getting that power output from one of those positions. And usually you don't get it from second base, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But not having it in left makes you feel like your whole lineup is a bunch of, gap
oh
to
yeah,
gap
a
guys.
bunch of contact, get on base guys and not enough thump. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
meat and potatoes.
Yeah. Um, because with Ian Happ's going to do the same thing every year. He's going to give you the 20 plus. He's consistent. I'll give him that. He's a great baseball player. He's consistent. But I see what you're saying as far as in this lineup, they need that one other, and maybe who knows, maybe Kyle Tucker, and we'll get to the outfielder in a second, but maybe his presence in the lineup, maybe it boosts a couple of guys' numbers a little bit. Maybe Hap gets closer to 30. Maybe Seiya gets closer to 30. A lot of maybes and what ifs, I know, but maybe that I know you're not going to see that with Nico. You're not even going to see 10 home runs with Nico. I was really beating the drum in 23 as far as because I'm a big Bobby Witt Jr. guy, and I would watch Bobby Witt and I would watch Nico, and I'm just like, man, I wish Nico had the power that Bobby Witt did, because he would basically be Bobby Witt at second base. I know Bobby Witt's a little bit faster, but still a 40 plus stolen base guy at second base that can hit you 30 home runs would be awesome. I get it. I know they're two separate players, but I really wanted that so bad. But I'm again back to the ifs and everything like that. I'm really hoping that the presence of Kyle Tucker in the lineup really changes. I don't know, maybe pitchers approach some of these guys, and maybe that works. I'm hoping it works out for them in their favor, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see Nico gap to gap a little bit more this year than he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good comment was brought up in here. Tom Green saying here they wanted him to hit for power. They made adjustment for it, and they went back to the old swing and started hitting. But yeah, no, I mean sometimes you just got to realize what you are.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, because in 23 he was top 3 in the league in what was it, swing and miss percentage or whatever it was.
Something like that.
Or contact percentage or something. Like, he did not swing and miss very much. I want to say it was Luis Arias, and then maybe he was second.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the best players in the league at making contact. And then, not that he was bad last year, but you saw a dip last year because of that.
Yeah.
At least in the first half. His second half was a lot better.
Sometimes you just got to realize what you are.
Yeah.
And just be it. But
as much, and maybe they thought the same thing. They see Nico, they're like, man, if Nico could if he could just hit 20 home runs, God, that would be an MVP candidate right there every year. Yeah, is he going to? Maybe not, but he'd be a top 10 MVP candidate every year if the guy hit 20 home runs. But, like you said, you are who you are. You just got to stick with who you are.
Yeah, second base, I don't really worry about them. I know that they're going to they'll probably have a leg up on most of the league at second base, because Nico Hoerner is.
Well, let me ask you, who starts next week in Tokyo at second base?
Well,
is it? I know someone mentioned Brew. Is it Bruhan? Is it Birdie? Is it?
We talked about it off air. I think it's actually Shaw at second, and then Workman at third, but based on the matchup.
Yeah.
Because I think that, and the way Workman's hitting right now, you'd be kind of perplexed if they didn't try to get that bat in the lineup.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you gotta try to win these 2 games. It's just so weird.
It is,
just to go off on a tangent here, I love this. I love the idea of it, but it's just so weird that they come back, they still have spring training.
I wish this was just. I just wish this was an exhibition game. I really do.
Yeah, but if it was, it would be awful for Tokyo. right? Like the Cubs would send like their prospects if it were an exhibition.
That's true. Yeah,
right? Like, I mean, there's no reason to do it if
that is
it's
true.
not
You're
for
right. Yeah,
real,
you're right.
which sucks. But
Yeah.
why can't they just find a way to do it to where the Cubs like start their West Coast trip?
In Tokyo.
Yeah, like it's Tokyo, and then they play like I don't know. You go out there and play like the Giants for their
Yeah.
opening day,
Yeah, that'd
and
be cool.
play Seattle.
Well, I mean, technically, I guess if they would have waited just a little bit longer because they start off against who is it, Arizona?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's not that bad.
No.
Like build in 2 off days for them to get back, and then play
Yeah.
opening day in Arizona.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know.
But yeah,
Like,
this just because you know that next week if spring training is just going to be like, yeah, screw all this, you know?
right, and the Cubs have at that point sending who you're sending over. The players have pretty much already been notified if they're making the team or not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Like,
I don't get it. I don't get it. Moving on. We were at shortstop. Dansby Swanson.
Oh, Dansby. Well, you know what you're going to get with Dansby the first month of the season. You can look at his career track. Yeah, he had that hot little start. I want to say the first few weeks of his first season with the Cubs, but other than that, historically, he's been a cold starter. With that being said, yeah, he admitted last year that he was dealing, I believe, with an abdominal injury most of the season. So hopefully, I'm hoping that's what led to his production, his numbers last year. Hopefully, all that's different now. I'm hoping that because this team needs Dansby Swanson, and he's going to play. I mean, you've seen the games played. He hovers around one season it was 160, and did he play 162 a few years ago? He hovers around 160. I want to say last year. Last year maybe been like close to like 150 or something like that. But he's going to be in the lineup, but he's got to. Again, I'm not expecting a on fire start at the beginning of the season because historically he hasn't been that. But they need him in this lineup because he's probably going to be in some cases he's probably going to be your 4 or 5 guy depending on who's pitching.
I have a huge season penciled in for Dansby Swanson. I know he doesn't start off hot. I'm expecting him to be awful for most of April. It's just what he is. But I do feel like he's finally somewhat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's talking a lot about that hernia injury and how that really, kind of plagued him for a year and a half. He played through a lot of that, which, hey, tip the cap. But, hey, buddy, if you're hurt, like you got to make sure that you get right. That's just 100% what you need to do. And that's what the Cubs need you to do. You're not doing any favors by being at, 60% out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we actually get a decent Dansby season this year because they need it. They it's we keep going around this diamond. We keep looking at people here, and it's like we need them to overperform. And this is my problem. I think
and that was brought up at Cubs convention too.
Yeah, it's like as we do this exercise, I continue to just sit here and get less and less excited because it's like, well, we need this guy to be better than he's ever been, and this guy and this guy. And it's like you're the Cubs, god damn it.
Yeah,
get the best of the best.
Yeah, I
don't
agree because Jed made that comment during his panel as far as expecting players to overperform and yada yada. And it's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, we get it. Yeah, but again, like you said, you're the Cubs. You can get you like, oh, this team doesn't need a superstar. When we say this team needs a superstar, we mean you need a guy in the lineup that automatically you can go ahead and punch in what he's, 30 home runs, 100 RBI, everything like that. That's what the Mets paid for in Juan Soto. That's what the Phillies paid for in Bryce Harper. That's what pencil in superstar. That's what the Dodgers paid in Mookie Betts. Shohei had his little deferred combat in Ohtani. Those guys. That's what we're saying. And yeah, they may over exceed their expectations, but what you can automatically bank on what you're getting. And yeah, that comment that he made, and yeah, I don't even have any hair juice, and I wanted to pull my hair out.
By the way, you did a great job at going up there and asking another question. By the way,
oh yeah,
you're famous. You're famous every year.
Say?
Before we move on to the next position, move into the comments here. Break Even Tom says Birdie. I think that was in reference to second base here.
Yeah, and he's a guy. And I'm sure he'll probably play a little bit of third too, and maybe he has a game or two at short. I'm not sure.
I actually think that the Cubs bench is a lot better than it was last year.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that that's something that they addressed, I think pretty effectively. Yeah. This one, no, doing spring after smart. As someone who has went overseas, you need time to get over the time change. It's true. Worst take ever. I'm guessing you have never went overseas. Hell no. I just got back from Dubai a week ago.
No, but I mean, I see what.
But I mean, I'm not an athlete.
I would say I see what he's saying as far as getting adjusted to it. It's just this idea of playing two meaningful games. Yes, the time change and all that sucks. I understand that. It's just weird. You play those two meaningful games, and then you go back a week to that, and then start. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's weird.
I just think that they could build in a way to give the Cubs off days to get adjusted back to the time change while still, fulfilling that, not needing to have that extra week of spring. I mean, you could find a way to do that without. And two, baseball rosters now, spring training's so pointless, is it not? I mean, your 26 men are decided before you even get to camp most of the time.
No, for sure. Going back to, not to go on a huge rant, but like as far as going back to the Hotokyo thing real quick, what if either in the middle of the season at the All-Star break or at the end of the season, you almost had an all-star team play in Tokyo? Maybe you paid player, as far as if it was like at the end of the season, you could pay players a little extra incentive or something like that because it's your off season, but then you're also going to have teams be like, well, no, we're not doing that because we don't want player whoever to get hurt, blah blah blah, mainly pitchers, but I guess not that's a stupid take because at the end of the season, you got certain pitchers that have, reached their limit and everything like that. But I don't know. I just wish there was something, because I like the idea of them going to Tokyo. That's cool. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if they could just
I do and something. I don't. I get why they do it, and it's all money driven. It has nothing to do with bringing.
Oh, the Dodgers, they'll push it every year. Did you just see I think they just signed another it was like a soft drink deal from Tokyo that I guess they're going to be selling that soft drink at certain stands in Dodger Stadium. So yeah, they're gonna put our name down at the beginning of every season because they know every year that they're gonna pick up some deal, some sponsor that they didn't like. It's just gonna be money train over and over and over.
It makes sense. I mean, I get it. If I had that much invested in, foreign born players too, I'd try to make the fans who are coming to visit, that much more comfortable. I get it. Moving on.
Yeah.
Third base, Shaw, Workman. I put who knows.
Yeah.
Because eventually maybe there's a trade of some point at some point. I mean, you're gonna rotate some guys in if Shaw can't do it. Turner hasn't done it in forever.
I don't see Turner
see that happening.
He
He's
will
probably
not.
Your first base speller.
Yeah, I don't see him making even. There's no way he makes 5 starts at third base. No way.
No,
But
what was the last time he's even played third? Like
it was
2020.
the year before last. I think he had 7 appearances with the. It wasn't the Mariners, maybe the Blue Jays.
That would make sense.
It was something silly. Yeah, it was only like 7 appearances, and yeah, but like we talked about at the beginning, hope Matt Shaw, happy for Matt Shaw to make the roster and everything like that. I get it. He's going to have his growing pains and all that kind of stuff. Maybe he doesn't start off hot. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he starts off cold. It can't be something though that drags to the next month and then the next month and then here we are. Because Matt Shaw's what? How old is Matt Shaw? Is he even 21 yet?
Let's.
I mean, he's just a kid. He's gonna have to. He may need time to figure it out, and that's okay. But with that being said, it can't affect the team right now as far as it can't turn into a project piece. So I'm hoping, and I want to say his projections with Fangraphs, I want to say they have him hitting like 20 home runs, which would be awesome. Be great to see. If he can adjust well to the position and everything like that, great. I think, again, we said it earlier. I know he's better than Christopher Morel. I think it's a definite better option than what we had at the beginning of last season. So there's that. And Gage Workman, I still don't think we know what they have in Gage Workman. Maybe he's a bench piece. Maybe he's a guy that can play here and there at third base and everything like that. But again, another player on just from catcher all the way around just the infield, another player that has that if attached to him.
Yeah,
I get it. Every team has that too, but I care about our team. I get it. Every team has to do the same thing. I get it. Cool. I don't give a shit. I care about this team.
Anything could be better than what they had rolled out at third last year.
Yeah.
I think if you added together their wins above replacement, it was like minus 0.5. It was awful. I did it last year because Morel was under, Nick Madrigal was under, Paredes was like 0.3 when he was in a Cub uniform. Awful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, this position can only get better, in my opinion. With that said, I would have loved if they addressed it deeper than just Shaw. I like Workman, but again, we're talking about a guy who's fighting to make the team.
And again, hey, Matt Shaw could surprise us and win Rookie of the Year this year. Chris Bryant, not to compare. I know that's a big thing to say to compare that to Chris Bryant when he first started. Chris Bryant didn't start off very high. I want to say the first month of when he got called up wasn't very good, and he figured it out. And maybe Matt Shaw does. Maybe Matt Shaw does the same thing.
Yeah, let's hope, because they're putting a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah, they are.
It's in your first, big league season. It's interesting to see how they're gonna play this. Oh, hello, Ronald. Matt Shaw.
Oh, hey, Ron.
Hey.
Yeah, Matt Shaw. Yeah, that's who.
Yeah.
What do you want to just say the outfield as a whole, or I guess we can go left to right. Sure. Yeah.
I went left to right.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Ian Happ.
You can go ahead and pencil in the 20 plus home runs. Probably hover around 80 RBI, and he's going to get on base. So yeah, is there moments as far as, and I've even sit here and yelled about it too, as far as him in clutch moments. Yeah. But at the end of the year, at the end of the season, he's going to have the stats to back up that he's probably, I get it. We haven't seen Kyle Tucker play yet. I understand. But so far, Ian Happ has been the most consistent player on this team.
Yeah. I mean, you can pencil in stats. That's nice to have.
Is he a superstar? No, but you know what you got in him. And he's a Gold Glover. So there you go.
You could also root for a couple more wind blowing out days, and maybe he gets to.
Yeah. Maybe this is the year and again, it could be the Kyle Tucker factor. Maybe this is the year, that he finally hits 30 home runs. Could be.
I hope. I think this is one we can move off pretty quick because
Sure. Yeah.
there shouldn't be any.
No.
I think this is the guy we're going to spend a majority.
Oh, and real quick, Ron said it best
About the
because
outfield stuff.
we like Ian Happ because he gets on base.
He
for
does.
sure.
He gets on
Yeah.
base.
No, PCA.
Because he gets on base. Why? Because he gets on base. I wish he would hit more homers, especially from left.
For sure.
But
I agree.
But go
I
on.
agree. PCA is arguably the biggest X factor on this team. He is. And that's a lot to say from a guy that's still really young, still figuring things out. I know a lot of guys just outside of the Cubs, a lot of MLB guys just in general, have a lot of high expectations for this guy, which is great. Good. Awesome. He's another guy I'm not sold 100% on yet. I get it. He had that hot month in September. He's got to start off like that. He does. It's his spot. They basically told him that once they traded away Cody Bellinger. He's a guy that in this piece of the puzzle has to work, has to do it. And again, I get it. He's young, but he's a guy. A lot of guys, and I told you in the pre-show, a lot of guys have compared him to Corbin Carroll, his rookie year, 30-30, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to say it. I wouldn't be shocked if PCA didn't hit 30 home runs in his career for a season. And that's fine because I look at PCA more like a Jarren Duran from the Red Sox last year. The season that he had last year, I feel like that could be PCA, but with more speed, a better arm, a better glove, everything like that. I think he's a guy that could lead this, that could lead the league in triples, a guy that could lead the league in stolen bases, a guy that could be a sure thing in center field. But it all depends on whether or not, back to what we like on this show, if he can get on base. If he can get on base, automatically it's going to be a double. Hell, if he gets anywhere around Duran's triple marks from last year, I think Duran got 14, you can almost guarantee that he's scoring. So with that being said, however, he's another guy with the biggest if of them all. He's a guy that in my opinion, has to live up. He's a guy that has to outplay his projections, everything like that. He's got to be that guy for this team to, as they should, dominate the Central. But again, you still got the Brewers lurking and everything like that. But he's the guy, in my opinion, that he is the biggest X factor on this team. And I know that's saying a lot coming from, you just picked up Kyle Tucker. But again, I know what you got in Kyle Tucker. You know what you're going to get in him. PCA has to be the Robin to Kyle Tucker's Batman. Has to.
That's just so much.
Do what?
Go ahead. That's just so much to ask, though.
It is. I know it is to ask for a young guy, but this could be Tucker's only season. And maybe he's another guy that benefits from a Kyle Tucker in this lineup. Let me ask you this question. I know we haven't got to Tucker yet, but it involves Tucker and PCA. So I dropped a poll, I believe it was 2 days ago. And I asked, and I was surprised at the results. Who gets more extra base hits in 2025? Is it Kyle Tucker or PCA?
I'll take Kyle Tucker. Just
okay.
Because I think that's I think Kyle Tucker is going to hit 30 to 35 home runs easily. I mean, we're kind of hoping for him to hit 40, but let's be completely honest here. Nobody's hit 40 from the left side since forever in a Cub uniform.
It goes back to,
it just doesn't
Don't
happen.
say, is it Billy Williams?
It is Billy Williams.
Wow. Yeah, I guess so.
Why?
I agreed.
This is a fun exercise. Why? Because you have to hit the ball the other way.
Yeah. And he's a guy. I agree with you. I agree that I was shocked to see that more people voted for PCA, and I get it. I like that because they're guys are excited about what PCA could be to this team, about what PCA could just be for baseball in general. Because you like the flashiness, you just you listen to one of his interviews and you're like, man, okay, I'm glad he's on our team. I can get it. Like if St. Louis was good, I can get it where St. Louis fans would hate PCA, which would be awesome. I would love that because what, PCA is like what these guys have saying in our comments are just absolute chaos. I would love that. But he's got to prove it with the bat. He's got to prove it with the bat early, as far as whether it's getting on base, making contact, everything like that, driving the ball the other way, especially at Wrigley. Hell yeah, man! You can go ahead and pencil in double for sure, and maybe depending on who's playing out there, triple for sure. But he's a guy that I think he's the one guy that I'm watching most, that I'm paying attention to most, that I think a lot of guys just that cover baseball are probably paying attention to most on this team, other than Kyle Tucker. But yeah, he is, in my opinion, the biggest X factor on this team.
Yeah, he's got to be. I'm going to read you some stats here, Tyler, and I want you to answer if you'd be happy with these numbers. For Pete Crow Armstrong, and this is according to Fangraphs, 133 games, 16 home runs, 246 batting average, a WRC plus of 98, and a wins above replacement of 3.
Yeah, I'd be all right with, especially for what is this? Would this technically be? How many games did he play last year?
He played 123.
And you're saying now 133?
Yeah, they project him to play 10 more. I think he could probably go over that number if he hits.
Who plays those other?
If he's a WRC plus of 98, he's probably playing more games than.
Who plays those other 30 games?
It's a great question.
I wouldn't hate that, no, but I wouldn't hate it. But then I would see that and be like, I just wish there was just a little bit. I wish there was more.
Yeah, I think of PCA this way. Whatever you get from the bat is probably gravy. He's going to play excellent center field. And he's going to get on, when he gets on base, he's going to be chaos. He's going to steal bases. He's going to create, problems. But I do think we're watching a player who is now ascending and has maybe figured it out with the bat. Because if you see what's happened in spring training, he actually has an approach when he's going up there. There were so many times when I lived in South Bend and I watched him go to the plate. He didn't go up there with a plan. And it seems like he's kind of taken that next step and has gone up there knowing what he can handle and knowing what he can't.
Yeah.
And playing with it himself, and knows if I put the ball in play, I'm going to make some things happen with my speed.
For sure.
You don't need him to hit 30 home runs or 20 home runs. You need him to be a gap-to-gap guy, realistically, in this lineup, because the power needs to come from somewhere else. Trust me, I want him to hit 20 to 25 home runs, but I think that that's like level 3 PCA, and we're at like level 2 PCA, maybe even 4 to 5 PCA hits 25 home runs. It's like this kid is still young.
For sure.
Give him a chance to grow into his position in the league.
He can be that guy. Okay, and don't just hear me out first before you say you're full of blah, 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 whatever. He can be that chaos in the lineup like Javi Baez was, but with better speed, with a better bat. Just put up better at bats than Javi, because did you always notice with Baez that he always seemed to be that guy in the moment, that chaotic moment, you know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10 in that moment, he thrived in that, and PCA could be that type of chaotic type player, but again, with a way better bat. Okay, because you see how Baez is now, but and obviously a lot faster and everything like that. So but he could be that in this lineup, but maybe with a better approach for sure.
Yeah, I think I want to go to this comment from Ron. I think he's better than those projections. That's what I'm assuming he's talking about. I bet closer to a 109 WRC plus and closer to a 4-win player. In my opinion, if he's a 109 WRC plus, we're talking about a guy who's maybe closer to 5.
Yeah.
Because if the bat is going to show,
and that's that 5 more player that you were looking for.
The Cubs need another 2 more of those.
Yeah.
And then that gets me excited. Because these 3 to 4 win players, they're nice and they help you win baseball games. Don't get me wrong. Those Kyle Tuckers, who at the end it's like 7. You're looking at a 7-win player. That's what wins you championships. Like that gets you over the hump.
For sure.
So yeah, I hope that but like I said, if this is break even time brings it in. He was talking with Cole Wright. If he hits 15 to 20 bombs, steals over 50, and has over 50 extra base hits,
that's a top 5. Is that not a top 5, at least top 8 MVP level player right there?
I do backflips and I would feel way better or better.
For sure.
I would feel way better about the Cubs situation of not just being we're going to win the division and then get into a playoff series and fall short. That's the type of guy that gets you over the hump.
For sure.
And you add maybe a front of the line starter at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can go after that Dodger team. But yeah, I think his Gold Glove alone is going to find a way to elevate him into that, 4-win kind of player.
Yeah.
Which
that'd be great.
And if he steals bases and he can be that gap to gap guy and cause havoc, yeah, you're looking at a superstar. But
yeah, for sure.
I don't want him to get ahead of his skis either. Just play within yourself because it's clearly working when you just have an approach at the plate like you do in spring training. Moving on, we'll get to right field. Everybody's favorite free agent coming to next year, I'm sure, including our own Chicago Cubs. Kyle Tucker, coming off a injured year last year, still put up excellent numbers.
He had he had 23 home runs in less than half a season.
Yeah,
and like Break Even Tom said earlier, and it pisses me off every time I play MLB The Show, his base running ability is so underlooked, underrated, whatever you want to call it. I hope, by the way, San Diego Studios, I know you got the game coming out tomorrow. Hopefully you have that fixed, because his ability to run the bases is impressive, very impressive. And people forget about it. People forget about it, don't talk about it, everything like that. People also, like, the dude was compared to Mike Trout just 3 seasons ago when he first came up. He was being, like they were talking about, there's Mike Trout as far as him MVP level player, and Kyle Tucker was like right on his tail. He's a guy, obviously he's better than Ian Happ, but he's a guy like Ian Happ that you can pencil in. You know you're going to get what you're going to get. You're going to get 30 home runs. You're going to hover around 100 RBI, and you're going to get about 20 stolen bases and an 800 and an 800 plus OPS. So there's your 1.5 WAR guy right there that you already, and God forbid anything happens as far as injury wise. Yeah, he's going to be the best. Obviously, going to be until PCA takes it from him. He's going to be the best player on this team in 25.
Yeah, I mean, in 277 ABs last year, Tyler, he was still almost a 5-win player.
Yeah,
I mean that's just outrageous.
In like 78 games.
Yeah, I mean
that's crazy. Crazy. And he's a guy that I just hope so bad that he makes everybody else in the lineup that much better, because they have to maybe they have to They got to pitch around. They pitch around Tucker to, and have to throw, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just hoping that his presence alone makes everybody else in the lineup better. And the one guy as far as having Tucker's presence in the lineup is probably the next guy we're about to talk about.
Yeah, and I think the one guy who could maybe be the biggest benefactor for Tucker or beneficiary, this guy,
Seiya freaking Suzuki, yeah,
our DH, and I know there was some talk early on how he didn't want a DH. Him and Council kind of cleared that up. This dude's got a show this year, man.
Yeah,
he's got to be the Bash brother to Tucker. He's got to be that other guy. And if he's not, the Cubs are probably in trouble.
Yep. But I think having that full-time DH spot, he'll probably play right here and there ever so often to give Tucker a break. I think not having to worry about playing right field for 160 games or whatever, I think he's going to benefit so well from that. And I'm not going to point out any pitchers or anything like that, but you could see in certain games last year, he wasn't the best defensive player out there. And you could see in certain games, they would flip over. They would flip the camera to the dugout, and you could kind of see the frustration with some of the players. You could, and they're not going to admit that. They never will. They will take that to the grave with them. I get all that, but just reading people's, again, I'm not going to say because I'm not going to do that, but maybe not having to worry about that, to have to deal with that and everything like that. I think him having that full-time DH spot, you're going to get the best Seiya Suzuki that we've seen so far.
Yeah. Focus on hitting. And I think,
hell, he was slicing balls with samurai swords today,
which was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
I think all the marquee content's been really, really fantastic.
Yeah,
all the Tokyo stuff.
I hope that they do something. They do an all right job. Their YouTube channel does all right, but I follow a lot of baseball YouTube pages. And watch them during spring training, especially like the Braves have a good, they've got this cool spring training show. The Pirates have got a cool one. The Twins got a cool one. And the Orioles got a cool one. I hope if they're not so far, Marquis, if you're listening, you can have this idea for free. I'm giving it to you for free. I hope you guys do some awesome, badass YouTube special, YouTube documentary on this Tokyo series, because you've got a whole week basically till the game. Give us some awesome freaking content, please. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. In the comments here, let's go through a couple of them. From Ronald. Like, he could be like a 9.5 wins above replacement player. When's the last time the Cubs had that? Sammy Sosa in 2001 was a 10-3. Before then, Ernie Banks had a 10-2 in 1959. No, I take that back. Sorry. No, you're right. I'm right. Sorry. Yeah. I thought Ron Santo was in there as well, but he's not. 9-8 in 1967.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah. Sorry, I get like I'm like baseball nerd. Somebody asks the questions, I gotta try to find the answer for it. Scott dropping in.
Good,
where's
man.
Ron? Where's Joey? What, Scott? You don't see me for like 3 months, and there's no hey Juice. Yeah, Ron. I also thought it would be Chris Bryant.
No, yeah,
it was not. I looked at that first. That's how good Sammy Sosa was. And Ernie Banks and Ron Santo even putting in high numbers on that. I also want to go into this. I think because he's not playing right as much, he stays healthier. Yeah, I think that's another thing that we can definitely pencil in. Really quick, we're just going to do these categories for pitchers and starting pitchers and bullpen.
Yeah.
Startings.
As far as starting, I think you know what you get with Justin Steele. He doesn't have that bullcrap injury at the beginning of the year. You could have penciled him in for the same thing he did the season before. He's a guy I don't think you got to worry about. Shota, he's got to avoid the sophomore slump. Is he going to have that epic start that he did last year? It'd be awesome. There's a good chance that it won't happen. Not to say that he won't start off good. He's a guy that's got to avoid the sophomore slump. Jameson Taillon, we need to see what he did last year. He's got to bring that over to this year. And then you've got that whole, is Matt Boyd going to be in the rotation? I guess he is because of what you pay a guy nearly $30 million. He's got to sell me this year. He does. I just finished his CPP, his player profile earlier. He's got to sell me this year. Ben Brown looked nice. Ben Brown looked nice in his Royals rotation. I still think he needs to figure out a third pitch before you pencil him in the rotation. Javier Assad, he's another guy that, maybe they're one starter short. I know you could say, but they also got Jordan Wicks, and we may, maybe they're banking on calling up Cade Horton. I still think they're one frontline rotation arm short to pencil in between Justin Steele and Imanaga. But yeah, other than your first two guys, maybe Jameson Taillon, even though I think in a playoff rotation, he doesn't need to be the three guy. That's why, like I said, there needs to be one more guy in that little group right there. I think they're one guy short, and other than the top of the rotation guys, I'm really between that little pool of Matt Boyd, Javier Assad, Ben Brown, Jordan Wicks, all of them and everything like that. I want Matt Boyd he's got to show me what I'm missing. Show me what you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's how I feel anyways.
I just won't stand for the JMO slander, man. He's been so good.
He was good last year
for half the year and
trust me. No, I'm not. I'm done with the JMOs. I'm not.
You just hate JMO.
No. I talked to JMO.
You don't like him.
He
said something bad about your coffee.
No, I've never had his coffee. His coffee. I asked him as far as if there was a coffee rivalry between Ian Happ, and I think we hit it off pretty good. Who knows? But yeah, as far as the slander, no. If 2024 JMO shows up in 2025, I will be completely happy with that. But again,
I think I figured out why you don't like him though.
Why's that?
Because he's got that like mustache kind of thing, like you do a little bit with the little scruff.
Oh, I'm jealous.
And you're jealous.
I don't want. No comment. No comment, Juice. Next question.
I figured.
Next question. But
again,
I think they're one arm short, and again, maybe somebody in that little group in the 4-5 column as far as the guys in that, maybe they maybe one or two of them just surprise us.
I hope you're right.
And no, break even Tom. I'm not saying Assad's a premier starter. He's not but as far as like a 5 guy, he's proven to be that. He's proven to be a guy that can throw you innings there if you had to. I'm not saying that he's a premier guy at all. No, of course not.
I think we got a little bit of chat fighting.
I guess. I don't know.
I think that's what we got going here, not the premier starter stuff.
I don't hate anybody. I like the ass man. The ass man cometh, and he came last year and was not bad. I mean, was he awesome? No, but...
I so badly want them to have the flexibility to move him to the bullpen.
Yeah.
I do. He's good out of both. I think his stuff would play a little better as like that almost new kind of lighter. You know, because he's been so good of getting out of jams.
Yeah,
So maybe he's that new, get you out of a jam type of guy.
yeah, fine.
Because that's what he was last year as a starter. It was he would get in trouble and he would make good pitches and then he would get out of things. So yeah, I want that flexibility. They just don't have it right now.
No, but I will say, and again, I'm working on it. I think I've got about 6 frontline starters that you could pencil in that 2 spot. If Steele's your ace, and then you've got this one of these righties that I'm going to talk about, and then Imanaga. There's about at least 6 out there on teams that realistically could trade this season. And maybe they get one of them.
I hope so.
And I'll just, I know someone brought up Alcantara. Yes, he is one of them, but there are some others, especially one. There is one that, and I'll tell you after the show, because it could be a whole nother discussion and all that kind of stuff. But there is one for sure that I don't think I haven't heard it once this offseason that could be realistic.
It's Erick Fedde, isn't it?
Damn it. You got me.
the Fedde Wap.
Yeah. Oh, just seeing him in that Cardinals jersey, man. I'm like, we gotta have him. Oh, we need him bad.
Gotta get him.
All
right, on to the bullpen.
Yeah.
Bullpen time.
I don't hate what they've done because they've added a lot of pieces. I think obviously Ryan Presley is going to be your closer to start things off, I think, over Porter Hodge. But
which Break Even Tom just hates Presley.
Oh, yeah. The thing with
I think this is the second comment of the night of him not liking
I get it when he was in Houston. His last 2 seasons with Houston wasn't the best because you get a guy in Josh Hader. I'm sorry, but Josh Hader comes to your bullpen. He's taking over the closer job. Another guy with a big if he can find that form that he had between 2019 and 2022 maybe or something like that. I don't know. That's a lot asking what is he, 36? I don't know, but he's
old.
They've got a lot of I'll say this, they've added a lot of pieces. They have, and I like last year at the end of the season. I like what Nate Pearson had last year. I thought he was a guy watching. I want to say the Oakland series, just his stuff in general. I like Porter Hodge looked good, obviously, and then you've got a lot of guys. They brought back Yency Almonte. I know we were both on. I liked when he was on, man. His stuff was nasty. I think they're a lefty short. I don't know if Luke Little's the guy that gets everything. And then who's the other guy?
Eli Morgan.
What's that?
Are you looking for a lefty in the pen? Eli Morgan.
Other than Luke Little, it was
last year.
Now.
Eli Morgan.
From Cleveland?
Yeah.
I thought he was a righty.
Isn't he left? Or he's good against lefties?
Maybe he's good against lefties. And maybe it's one of those things where, you don't have, you don't always have to have a lefty, blah, 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 whatever. But I will say they added a lot of pieces. And the thing with the bullpen is every year is different. You can look at last year and say, oh, this bullpen was ass or this bullpen was hot. And then next year it can be the complete opposite. But I like the stuff from some of the guys. Am I sold on Presley? I don't know, man. But he's probably going to get the ball first from, in the ninth inning. But yeah, I don't know how confident I am in that. I will say this. I think I'm a little more confident in this bull. Is it bad to say that I'm a little more confident in this bullpen than I was last year's?
No, I think that's 100% fair.
And that's mainly because Hector Neris isn't there anymore. Ha! Sorry to bring up old memories, but I think I'm a little more confident.
I feel confident because they've built fail safes at the closer position. If that doesn't work out, You have
They've got a lot of
If Brown
options.
doesn't work out, you got Porter Hodge. Last year it felt
Gilmore,
like
that's
if
who I was thinking.
Alzolay, it felt like last year if Alzolay didn't work out, they were going to be awful. And
Did he get on it? Didn't he get picked up by somebody?
Yeah, I forgot.
I forgot too. But yeah, oh well. But yeah, they've got a lot of options. I'll give them that, and maybe a couple of them. I really, between all of them, just me, just kind of just whatever. Me personally, I really want to see Nate Pearson take over a spot in that bullpen, like a legitimate spot, whether it's a 7th, 8th, or 9th inning spot, because I really liked his stuff at the end of the year. I know they said earlier that he was a guy that was testing, that was possibly testing the starter role again, but in Toronto, it just didn't work out for him. And man, I think he's a guy that if he could figure it, hold off on, cut down the walks, I feel like he's going to be a guy that could be nasty. Could be nasty.
By the way, looked up Eli Morgan. He's good against lefties.
Oh,
so
awesome.
He is a split guy because I was worried about that. Knew he wasn't lefty, but good against lefties. Darren, what's up, man? Finally back.
Darren,
we're missing the bar, the Thiel bar.
Yeah, the Thiel bar.
The lefty they brought over from the Twins. Yeah. You know what, Scott? You don't have a closer.
That's They'll say they've got several options as a. They've got several closer options. I'll just say that. So maybe they're just hoping one of them clicks.
One can hope. Do you want to talk about Craig Counsell? We went through all of the. Craig Counsell have a better year than last year.
I was about to say he's a guy that, it's going to get brought up. It's going to get brought up no matter what. That contract is going to get brought up. So yeah, got to figure it out this year. Got to make the playoffs. Have to. I get it. It's just your second season on this team, but you didn't get brought into. It's your first year. Let's figure things out. And the second year we may try to figure things out, is because it can't turn into that. So yeah, you've got to improve, man. Because if not, yeah, I don't care. We can sit here and say, well, Tom Ricketts is only giving this. Tom Ricketts and Jed, this is what they've given him to work with. I get that, but it still doesn't matter. In all sports, no matter what sport it is, that contract is always going to get brought up. It is. Whether it's and you say, well, that's just the dumb fans, and that's just it don't matter. Like it's gonna get brought up no matter what. And in that same boat, it's gonna make the front office. It's gonna make us even question that front office even more. Like, why would you do that if this is what's going on? So yeah, Craig, man, got to you got to be better than last year. That should be the motto, right? Just right now, the motto should be make the playoffs, I guess. But
I heard
do better. Do better.
Break even.
It is break. Yeah, that's duh.
It's break even,
man.
We're nearing the end of the show. We've had a nice long hour and a half show here where we went around the diamond and talked about a lot of fun things, all the way from Canada tariffs to PCA and our expectations for this year. Just so you know, this is Cubs on tap, not America on tap or anything like that. But we do support America. Tyler, any last thoughts of tonight's episode? You want to tell me to screw myself?
No, Juice, it was good to have you back, man. It was, as far as just any other things in the baseball. I did see the Garrett Cole news. That sucks, even for you.
Yeah.
I'm not a Yankees guy, but it sucks, and it makes you see that. Not to get in a long discussion with pitchers and everything like that. You see that, and it's like, man, that sucks, and it almost feels like now in this day and age, in this era, whatever you want to call it, it's almost like with every good pitcher, with every pitcher like that throws 98 plus, it almost feels like it's inevitable, just because the way people are focusing on velocity and spin rate and RPM and all that kind of stuff. And that's cool. That's great that they're getting all this data and knowledge and all that kind of stuff. But it sucks because I get it. The Tommy John surgery and all that is different than it used to be. It used to be Tommy John, oh, your career is over, blah, blah, blah. But still, it's Tommy John surgery. And it just sucks to see with anybody. You don't wish that. I don't wish that even on any other Cardinals players. But yeah, it just sucks to see that. And it almost just feels like now it's almost becoming inevitable for any pitcher of that kind of caliber.
Yeah, it sucks, but what are you going to do? I mean, hopefully, I still think of him as a Pirate. Is that bad? Like the 1-game playoff, and he's screaming like a lunatic in the 1-game playoff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. It's about time Juice is back. So much Chicago sports news and no juice, like drinking a warm old style on a Friday afternoon. Yeah, no, I'm happy to be back. Happy to have the schedule die a little bit down so I can hang out with the On Tap crew. Confirming, I will be at opening day with you boys too.
Let's go. So I'm gonna be there. I'll be there for Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, don't be surprised if I do the same. I may jump at a couple of them and
well, our guy Break Even Tom, he's done said we're I told him first beer is on me, so I think he's going to be in the bleachers with us as well as everybody else. It's going to be great. I'm actually I tell you what I'm really looking forward to too is getting that magnet schedule. I
love the magnets.
I love it. I slap that thing on my refrigerator, and then I think the next day is like a flannel, like a nice little flannel shirt. Or maybe that's yeah.
Did the Cubs give you guys calendars again for the?
Yeah. Yep. I put it in my locker at work every year. It's in my locker right now, even though I freaking ripped the hole on it. But yeah, they gave us one.
Good. Yeah. Just to round out today's show, I'm just not too excited, but I did get a little bit more excited over the course of the show for Cubs baseball.
We're good.
I will say that.
So we're close. We're close.
If I keep jumping on these shows, I'll buy back into the meatball machine, and then we'll go from there. But
let's go.
Cubs on Tap is one of. You know what? I'm still sitting here with bullpen on the. Need to pull that down. Cubs on Tap is one of 2 Chicago sports podcasts here at the On Tap Sports Net. You can find all of our great coverage of Chicago sports over at www.ontapsportsnet.com. Go over there and read the likes of Teddy Freddy 270 up here, who he's got pieces coming out. He alluded to him throughout the show, and our wonderful writing staff out there always does a great job of keeping up with the deets that's going on within the Cubs season. And of course, we will be back to normal scheduling with this show, talking Cubs baseball. Excited to pursue another championship potentially, which will be fun. Bulls, Bears, Hawks, Bears having one hell of an offseason already. It's just the first couple days. Bears on Tap is covering all of that, which has been just great coverage. And they have some of the best guys to cover the NFL draft, which the Bears have 3 picks within the top 42, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure you're heading over there. I know you're not just a baseball fan. You're also a football fan, and football season is being shaped and formed right now in front of our eyes with free agency. So go over there and check that out. The Bulls and Hawks are within their one of them wants to make the playoffs for no reason, and the other one is trying to get to the bottom. And we cover it all. And of course, as you know, this isn't just a one town, one team. There is another one that plays on the south side.
Really?
Yeah, there is. I know. They don't. I couldn't name you 4 players on that roster right now, but they can. So make sure you're heading over there. So because that's one hell of a feat. And they cover that, and we'll cover all the prospects along the way as they rebuild the rebuild. Sox on Tap does such a great job with that. But like I said, www.ontapsportsnet.com. Tyler, this is always fun. I had one hell of a time. I went to the hour 40 mark, man. That's pretty good.
That's what happens. That's what happens when the juice comes back, when the juice returns.
Poor Talkman. Stuck in the White Sox. He was one of 4 that I knew. But we'll get out of here the only way we know how, Tyler.
The only way that we can get out of here is a big fat FTC. If
And
you
let's
know,
go
you know.
Cubs. If you know, you know. Let's go Cubs. Fuck the Cardinals. Bye-bye.